So when you first began the discussion question, when you started to answer it, what steps did you take before you began writing?
Discussion. So first I looked to see if anyone else made any comment, right, before I start writing. And yeah, so that was, I think, the first thing. I just scrolled down to check if there is any comment, and then I started to actually read the instruction that what exactly is the discussion is asking for. I don't recall if I did made the first post. I don't know why here says 0. I think I made a couple. It's okay.
Here it says 0 because that would be if you had clicked on the learning analytics before you'd posted, and then they all say 0 for some reason.
Yeah.
And I know you posted.
Why. Yeah.
Okay. So it has the last time you looked at the learning analytics showing one post.
Oh, I should. Okay. Yeah, but I mean, it's fine. I can. Yeah.
Do you remember that?
The last time that I clicked?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, it was a while ago.
Were you surprised by what you saw?
Yeah, the first time I clicked, I think it showed someone had 4 posts, but I didn't know that person because it wasn't in my group. So I thought it's a software error or something, because I was expecting to see my own group mates, like the people are in my class, in terms of how many posts they have. But it was actually based on the entire class, and targeted to people who signed up for the experiment, right? Yeah, so that's it.
Actually, it was the entire class, whether they did the experiment or not.
Oh.
But I like the fact that you noticed that it wasn't your group. It's surprising how many people didn't recognize that.
Oh, okay.
They just looked at the number, not the people.
Yeah.
So, actually, that's good. What do you remember most about going back and forth to the visualization? Because you did go a few times.
Yeah, so I was going to check to see, you mean this page, right?
Yes.
So just checking to see if anyone made more posts or, but to be honest, I only visited this page, I think once. That's why it shows 0 posts or something. So right. This belongs to the first discussion, not the second one.
Correct.
Right? Okay. And I did visit this page, but I didn't see this much of information. It has too many rows. So when I visited it, it was only I think 2 or 3 students at that time. I don't know why. Maybe I can open Canvas in my computer and show later. But when I opened it, the only thing I saw is 2 students, and it says this guy made 4 posts and this guy made 2 posts. And I said, wait a second, these are even not in my class. And then that was it. I didn't visit this page after.
Okay.
Yeah. And because I didn't know it's required to visit this page?
No, not at all.
Okay.
No, it wasn't required.
Yeah. I only visited this page once.
Did you make all the 4 required posts for the...
Yes.
Okay, for both discussions?
Yep.
Excellent. And could you see the learning analytics in both discussions?
I haven't checked. Okay. I can check because
it wasn't... you don't need to. I just didn't know if you did look in both.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, because another thing we learned in IT 201 is the user is very goal-oriented. So because it wasn't in my goal, right? My goal was to do just 4 posts to finish the discussion.
Finished and done.
Okay, done. Done. Close.
How did the information that you saw in the learning analytics influence your idea of your own learning?
Yeah, so to be honest, again, because it's goes back to the fact that I only visited this page once. But again, if the page was like this, to be honest, it's not gonna affect much of my learning, because it doesn't tell me that much. It only says, okay, this guy made 4 posts. Okay, not a big deal, Or I made 1 post or 2 posts, If it's because the information that provided is not that detailed, right? So I can't actually make any decision, or it's not going to affect me that much. But if the analysis is more, it provides more context in terms of, I don't know, as if it's something interesting or something that Yeah, so it wasn't, it didn't like that. The time that I checked, okay, it was something similar that says, okay, this guy, the Kenneth, made 4 posts. Okay, not a big deal. Everyone's supposed to make 4 posts. That's good. Yeah.
Did you feel competitive at all with the people who had already posted?
In this particular, to be honest, no. In this particular discussion or study, not much. But when I feel competitive is in Canvas in particular, when I see like the grades released and I check the class average, right?
Okay.
And I see if the little blue box, which indicates where I'm at, right? It's above the average. So as long as I see that happens, okay, oh, okay, that's good. That's a relief. That's good. As long as it's not below the average. And once the times that it makes me happy is like the average is here, but I'm all the way to the top. I just say, oh yes, I nailed it. Yeah, but.
So that's a useful visualization for you.
Yeah.
Let's see. Since I don't unplug myself there. Now, this is the other type of visualization that you could have seen. It's a heat map of the keywords, and unfortunately I need to make this smaller so you see it. So you would have seen your post for if you had coherently used the keywords here against that of the class. So on this one, this person needs to get with the program. They're nowhere near the class average, right? Because at this point, the class has posted a great deal. So that's an example of what you could have used. Now, had you gotten that visualization, do you think you would have used it more?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, because the discussion was very specific about the keywords we need to use, right? So it had a focus that we know we need to like use, I don't know, perception, gestalt, these kind of things, right? So I think this is helpful in terms of, but again, in terms of like how it's going to improve my performance, I don't know, because it might say, it gives me an idea, okay, like the class is using these keywords, but they're supposed to. I mean, this is something that they've been asked to do, right? It's good to just know that. Yeah, so I think in overall, this visualization, it gives more information. It's more useful than the previous one, than just saying, okay, 3 posts. Yeah, I think this is more useful.
Okay. What other graphics would you have considered helpful? You mentioned your grade, when you were mentioning your grades before, is that for every assignment or only exams?
Everything. As long as I see notification in my grade says 1 new grade, so I go and check, and so it indicates there is a little circle, blue circles. There's that. This is a new grade that released, and then I check, and then I check the average, and that's it. So your question is in general, or in Canvas, or?
In Canvas, for sure. For example, if instead of just the average for an exam, if you could see the performance on every question, would you want to see that?
Performance on every question. Yeah, so again, I think that might be useful, but it's not for me personally, it's not very interesting to, Again, I mean, it goes back to what is the goal, right? So the goal here, I don't know, maybe for lots of universities, like a student is like the grade, if that's the most important thing, and then once they know the grade, then they don't care. Like, okay, that's it. I don't want to. If I forget everything I learned, that's cool. I don't know. It's not me. I mean, in general.
Well, what's your goal? What would you like to see?
For me, what I like to see, I don't know. I never thought about it. That what else I want to see. Yeah.
Okay. Would you like to see more visual learning analytics implemented in future courses?
So by implementation, you mean on the current platform, Canvas, right?
Yes, unfortunately, we can't change that. You're still stuck with Canvas.
Okay,
yes.
so here's the thing, because the problem with sometimes with Canvas is some professors they don't use Canvas and they have like their own platform. Like if you know Russell Taylor for IT233, he only uses emails. He just sends emails, right? We don't have like no Canvas, nothing, and there is no grade or something. Like he just sends a bunch of email, and the assignment and everything is just a physical model that each week we make and we bring it to class, right? And we don't know our grade until the very end of the semester, right? But that's like a design course, and like this is how he wants to manage it. But the problem with the Canvas, that like the instructor who use Canvas is they use it inconsistently, right? So some like Wolfgang, like the way that he uses, he only puts like one page. There is no module or something going on, and it's just a bunch of links and opens some PDF, and the PDF every time it looks different, and yeah, so it's completely inconsistent with the way that another instructor, like I don't know, Ken uses for IT 102, which has lots of modules and assignments and links and everything, right? So that makes it actually harder for people to for a student, let's say SFU students, to actually use this analysis, like to enhance their learning or to do more stuff. Because the problem is people are not like the way the students do not use Canvas the same way they use Facebook, right? So they know everything about Facebook, all the tricks and how to do this stuff, right? But they don't know the same, like that they don't have the same amount of knowledge for Canvas because they don't work with it consistently, in their courses. So I think, yeah.
I think that's very good feedback because even TAing, granted, I didn't come here for undergrad or anything. I haven't been here that long. But just in terms of how people use it, even TAing, it's just like, oh my gosh, make up your mind.
Yeah.
So yes, I've definitely seen that, a decent variety of the way things are here. And I've TA'd in other departments and taught in other departments, and ours probably uses Canvas the least, next to like math and maybe history. Or what I've seen.
So what I guess like in terms of like courses which are related to technology and design, because it's evolving like super fast. Like some maybe traditional method of like training might not be that good. That's why I don't know. I'm thinking that's why Russell used a different method, because the way that he teaches the class is more like one of like those like I don't know, not old fashioned, but like design schools, like it's like
art school.
Art schools, like it's different, right? So that's why I'm thinking maybe like in technology, because the content changed rapidly, right? Like in the course I'm taking 201. So it's about human-computer interaction, which just changes like I don't know every month a new system that change the entire everything. That's why like maybe like that's the reason that Wolfgang's slides are not that good in terms of design.
Throw it out there as soon as it comes. Throw it out there as soon as I just found this last night. Go.
Yeah. It looks like he just made like a screenshot from something. It's not even a text.
From an email last night. Yeah.
It's so terrible. Yeah, but maybe that's the reason behind it, because it changed. So he can't actually like make a slide and use it for 5 years. Yeah. So he needs to change it like as it comes.
A lot. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, the type of course does make an issue, certainly. Which courses do you think might be aided most by visualizations in Canvas? What type of courses?
So here's the thing. In general, I'm a big fan of visualization, which I think is like easier to look at like something visual, like a shape, rather than just numbers and words, and try to interpret it, right? But here's the thing, like how we use that visualization are we using it for I don't know, to teach the core concept to a student, or just giving them some analysis of how they're doing, or so is it more targeted toward their performance, or actually using those like visualizations to actually help them to learn better, or faster. So if that's the case with the first one, which is we're just showing them some graphs or numbers that, okay, so you made it like, I don't know, 200 posts, or you wrote like 20,000 words since you started university, right? That might not be that, even though like we compare them, okay, so there is a guy who wrote 1 million words, oh, he wins, I don't know. If it's something like that, I don't think, I can't imagine how it can help, right? But what I'm saying in terms of like teaching the course concepts, it would be helpful if we could use like more visualization. And so I think if we do that, that would be super helpful.
That'll be helpful.
I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. Well, now we move to the alternative visualizations, and I had you look at them and rate them without. Oh, thought I turned that on. That's what I get for clicking it. Without knowing how they work necessarily, just based off the aesthetics. Each of them is very similar to what you already see here, in that you see the keywords. You can, just like you can hover over these areas and get more information on the coherence. This is at the end of the class, so everything's high, but there are 3 levels here. Similarly, on these, you can click on them and get more information. So, for example, okay, this one's a bit more abstract. If we're looking at the avatars, sorry, it's down here on this one, you would pick one of these individual avatars, and then initially you'd get a line drawing. As your coherence increased, so too would the amount of information within the avatar itself. All of these information, or I should have started off by saying all of these alternative visualizations that you see here are designed to be persistent, so that they're always there on the page. And that's part of the reason why the text isn't always there, or you can turn off the text just so it isn't cluttered. So if you had the avatar would be persistent there, and you'd see the changes in it, but it'd be not as, it would be more abstract than some of the others. Now, if, for example, you were looking at the polar coordinate, which is one of the ones where you can compare your information against the class, you would need to click or hover on it to get information about those individual keywords. Otherwise, you just have this part of the visualization there. So you could see that in these areas, you may need some improvement, but in these, you're doing well, as purple's the highest, correlates to the highest level. So, let's see. So that's that one. Again, with the buildings, the top one's rather self-explanatory. It's just like bar graphs. The bottom one, you would be represented by the light at the top, and this would fill. This represents the entire class. So for this one, for example, where it's white, no one's answered, right, on this one. So for the 2/3 of the class who have done this worked on this keyword or worked on this assignment, also this can be just assignments, they didn't do so well. Okay, but 1/3 of the class hasn't done it yet. So you'd see this, it would be updating as assignments got submitted or as the progression of discussions went on. For the fishbowls, this would be the individual view. So these could be individual assignments for you, and you could click on them and get more information. Again, it's just, persistent, it's there. Or this one, the fish could represent individuals. Okay, now that you know more about them, which ones would you use and why, and which ones would you not use and why?
Oh, okay. So, again, it depends on the context, right? So, which one I'm gonna use? Okay, to be clear, are these all like charts are identical in terms of like the information they provide? It's just a difference in how they appear, right?
Exactly. Yes, and the ones on the top are singular, so this would be only your information, whereas this information would be comparative against the class or against your group or whoever you're interacting with.
Okay. Yeah, so definitely so I think it's the simpler better, right? So I'm picking one from each, right?
Oh, you can choose as many as you want. Either.
Oh, okay. So for me, I prefer simpler representation because for me it's easier to understand, like, because I'm already familiar with pie chart and all these things, so it's easier for me to understand. So I prefer, so this one, I actually prefer these two.
Okay, the
right?
polar, both the singular and
Yeah.
okay.
And again, it depends on whether I want to compare myself with other to see how I did in comparing to other people. Yeah, so I choose those two.
In general, do you find yourself being competitive in your courses?
Yeah, I mean to some degree, right? To some degree, it depends, like in my goals in general, like my general goals in life and everything, right? And it depends on how valuable I think like getting like doing very well in school is important toward the goals that I want to achieve, right?
Do you?
I think like it's very important.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily. I don't think like necessarily like. Of course, I value like education and university and all these things, but it doesn't necessarily means like I like to be a designer, right? Like a designer, like as an experienced designer, not just someone who can design an experience, in any context. It's very broad at this point, but mostly focused in technology, of course. But I don't think necessarily it's just education is very important, of course. Like it's a like you need some foundation and knowing some theory and the stuff that people before you discovered and everything, right? But it doesn't necessarily mean that if I do like if I get, I don't know, B minus or C something in one course, it means that I failed or I'm doing super bad and I'm not going to achieve my goals, right? Yeah.
Okay, so you have a tempered perspective on it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe that your work history has given you that perspective that you?
Yeah, definitely, because I started to work before actually coming to university. So after high school, I started my own business, and I was doing. It was a small kind of not company, like basically me and my friend, we were doing web graphic design services and a bunch of other stuff all together. And I worked for 4 or 5 years, and that was very interesting. That's actually how I got interested to study interaction design. So I did the work first, and then I got interested to study it. But I guess for most of the people, it's the reverse. So they study first, and then I don't know. So that's why I'm very happy with what I study.
As much money as it costs to go to university most of the time. That's a good perspective.
Yeah.
But we'll get on that off topic. Is there any other information you'd like to share around the learning analytics? For instance, you did say that simplicity is why you chose those two. Would there be ways that you would change the others such that you would use them?
Mm-hmm. So I would say, like, when I look at it, like from my perspective, or like looking at a bigger image or something, what I'm thinking is sometimes there might be like even like these type of analytics, not only not useful for a student, but might harm the learning process, because if I start to see that, oh, I'm doing terrible, man, I should do, or if it's something, I don't know, it's just a hypothesis, right? So what I'm thinking in terms of like learning analytics, this might be very helpful for the instructor, right? And the people who are designing the course as an experience, it's very important for them to know how actually people are doing. But in terms of, again, it depends how we design it and what kind of information we are showing to the students. Sometimes it might distract them because, there's a famous quote or something. One of the athletes says, I don't know, when I'm in the field, I want to run, everything disappears, I only focus on, so even like sometimes athletes say that when they're playing the game, they forget about the score. They only think of like one thing, one goal, like getting like I don't know, playing the game right as best as they can, and that's how they achieve that thing, right? Because we don't have that much of attention. So when someone learns a new concept, it's like we already exposing them to new information. But how much helpful is to know, like get some more information about or how the others are doing, it might be is somehow even distracting. But to some extent, it is very useful for people who design the course, because designing a course, I think it's very important that actually the course to be designed, right? To not just like a person who like necessarily has a PhD in something doesn't necessarily mean that the person is like the best candidate to teach the course, right? Because the course needs to be designed. Of course, you need to know the material very well, but at the same time, you need to know like how to transfer those information to, to the students. So that's what I think.
Yes. Is there anything else you'd like to add about this study or your experience with the learning analytics?
Not really. Yeah, that's it.
I'm completely with you.
Yeah.
Affect
Okay.
is part of the reason that we're looking at abstract visualizations, because there are some students who are actually hurt by the visualizations, as
right.
Statistically their grades go down. Part of that is for individual difference, which is why we're looking at numeracy and different components like that.
Right.
And the use of color, the use of light-hearted things like the avatars and such might be a way to reach those students. So that's part of the reason why we're doing it. It's amazing in college how many professors have never learned how to teach.
Yes. I know.
And there are some subject matter experts who really shouldn't be teaching. So I'm with you
Yeah,
on that
yeah.
one. And that online courses need to be designed. It's
Yeah.
something I've shouted for years.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm so there
It's
with
okay.
you.
Yeah, okay.
And then went through some keywords on the books and know by reading, and I just then go write it.
Right into it.
Yes.
Do you remember if anybody in your group had posted yet?
Oh, you mean for this study? Or?
For your discussion in 201?
Oh, yeah.
Someone had already posted in your group?
We have 2 discussion and it's finished already, so
Right.
yeah.
So the discussion where you used the learning analytics that looked like this?
I think so.
It would have been the first discussion.
Oh yeah. I think this is the first one.
Yes.
Yes.
Because you didn't see the learning analytics in the second discussion, right?
No.
Okay. So the first discussion, when you were thinking about posting, did you look at the learning analytics first before you posted?
Not really. So I just posted.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you just posted. Okay.
Yeah.
When you did look at the visualizations, what prompted you to do so? Why did you look?
Because it's easier to understand instead of the words. So it helps me to understand what the actual content is. And yeah.
Okay. You saw this though, right? For
Oh,
the learning analytics?
Yeah.
Okay.
For I'm not sure it's for second one or the first one.
It was the first one.
It was for the okay.
Yeah, it was for the first one. And if this is correct, you looked several times before you actually posted?
Oh, you mean for the? Is this the thing like? Cause I only saw once for this one. I only look for one. So I don't
Well, it has it listed multiple, that it was accessed multiple times. I'm not sure. When you accessed it, what did you see? Did you see this?
the data, like some people do something, and there's my name and other team names. It's like there's 2 bars only, so I don't
There were
know.
only 2 bars. So
Yeah.
it looked like this.
Kind of like that.
Kind of like this.
I can't remember.
Huh. Okay. Yeah, because it was either this or it was a heat map of keywords. So when you clicked on the Learning Analytics, you would have seen this. No? You don't remember any of this?
I don't remember.
Okay. How many times did you post in the first discussion?
More than 4, I guess.
More than 4? Like how many do you think?
5.
5 times?
5 times.
Okay. Okay. So if you don't remember using the Learning Analytics, makes the interview rather difficult.
Oh.
What do you remember most from the visualization?
Is that the one I need to click on the image and it will pop out something?
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's only 2 sentences, like things for sign.
For one of the discussions, you should have seen that, and then
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
other discussion, you should have seen Learning
This
Analytics like this. Yes.
Oh yeah. But I can't remember what I look because I only look once, and it's appear on discussion 2.
So you saw Learning Analytics when you were doing the second discussion?
Yeah, the second one.
Okay, and what did you see?
Like this kind of bar.
This kind of bar. Did I the wrong person? No.
Because for the first one, they only say thanks for signing up or.
Right. Mm-mm. And it didn't look like this.
No.
No.
But my friend says like there is something like this. But I just
Yeah, this is. I have no idea why you don't see it. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, well, we'll go with what you got. So how did the information that you got from the Learning Analytics influence your judgment of your performance in the discussion?
Like how did it influence my posts or? You mean from other posts or?
How did it influence what you did after you saw the Learning Analytics?
I understand like what other people have posted. Kind of like that.
Okay. Did
Yeah.
you feel a certain way? Did you feel competitive or anxious, or how did you feel about what you saw?
I feel like if they have posted the same idea as mine, I feel we have the same common idea, so it's good to see that.
How did you get that from this visualization?
Oh, you mean
Since this is the type of visualization you said you saw, the top contributors.
like they post like more. I only see the numbers of the posts, so I think it helps me like people are participating in this discussion too. So yeah, because I only see the numbers of the posts they have posted.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, could you say that one more time? Because I didn't quite understand.
So, like, I only saw how many posts other people have posted on the discussion. So I think it's good to see that, because if there's a zero of that, then I would think this discussion is not, like, people are not participating in this discussion.
How many times, you said you'd only posted once when you looked at the learning analytics?
Before I posted.
So you saw the
Once.
learning analytics before you posted the first time?
Yes.
Okay. And how many people had posted by then?
I only saw one person, so me and other, like, the other person.
Okay. Was that the other person in your group?
Yes, I guess.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Did you notice if the name of the person in the top contributor visualization was the same name as someone in your group?
I think so.
Okay, but you're not sure.
I'm not sure.
Okay. How did the information in the learning analytics influence your judgment of your own learning?
Influence my judgment? You mean from looking at this, how does it influence my judgment?
Mm-hmm.
If someone have posted more than me, then I will post more on the discussion to participate in the discussion.
Is that what you did?
Yes.
Ms. Pushmore, did you meet the full 4 posts required for the discussion?
Yes.
You did for both of them?
No, for the second one I didn't because I was sick.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. If available to you, would you have used the heat map of the discussion keywords?
Yeah.
Why?
Because the keywords help me to search what the discussion needs to focus on.
Okay.
About.
Would you seek out discussions with others based on if they were in that ranking?
Mm-hmm. Oh, could you repeat again?
Oh, would you seek out other people? So if other people were in the top contributors, would you attempt to talk to them?
I will comment their posts to see, like, do we have the same idea or is there any other idea we can know.
Okay. Did you have trouble understanding any part of the visualization when you looked at it?
No.
No? Okay. Were you surprised at any time by your position in this?
I only looked once, so
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, what else would you use this visualization for?
Like adding different color for different amount of posts.
Okay.
I'm not sure is that correct or not.
That's not really what I was asking. But that's okay.
Okay.
All feedback's good feedback.
Okay.
So, like, for instance, I asked you if you would look for those people to talk to.
Yeah.
If you could look at a top contributor of people you knew, would you look at that? Or just your group? Like, things like that.
Just my group.
Just your group?
Yes.
Okay. All right, let's go to the ones that you just saw at the end of this. Sorry, the sun makes it a little bit more difficult.
Yeah.
Okay, so I asked you to rate and rank these before telling you how they worked, just to get an idea of what you thought of them aesthetically.
Okay.
So, for example, the round ones, the top one would show you just your information, and then the bottom one would show you your keywords compared to those of the class. So this visualization would be persistent, so it would stay on your screen at all times, and then you could click on it if you wanted more information. Other than that, it would just look like this.
Oh.
Okay?
Okay.
So, let me get this out of the way. Okay. So, if you were looking at, for instance, the city, these are the two cities.
Yeah.
This one is more like a bar chart, so that would show you your keywords. Whereas this one, you would be the light at the top, and then the rest of this would represent all your classmates,
Oh.
right? So you could see what level of post all of your classmates together, the average of what they were. So, like this one, most of them were in the middle, and that's good, and so were you. But this one, almost a third of the class hasn't posted yet,
Oh.
right? So you could get that sort of information. Then the avatars. You would pick something like one of the animals at the top or one of the figures at the bottom. Again, they would stay on your screen. And when you started out, they would be a line drawing. There we go. They would be a line drawing, and then as your coherence went up, they would fill in, they'd get color, and then at the end you could give them things, right? And the avatar would be revealed. Let's see. That away. And then finally for the fishbowl, this could be an example of all of your keywords. So the position and the color of the fish tell you how that discussion went. But the bigger one, you could be this fish, and everybody else would be the other people in your class. Okay. So now that you've learned more about them, are there any of these that you would use? And then just tell me why. Please.
I think I would use this one.
The fish tank, the
The
single
fish
fish tank,
tank.
okay.
Because it's easy to tell, like, how many times the keywords have used in the discussion. And
Also
this
true.
one is, it doesn't tell anything. It's just, like, how many people are in your discussion group.
Okay. Okay. So the big fish tank doesn't tell you as much as the small one does,
Yeah.
because the small one is your information.
Yes.
How about any of the others?
And I think this one is useful because we can see, like, the class and my posts are, like, how many amount of the, like, other people post and how many I have posts, and, like, there's a comparison.
Okay, so with the polar coordinates, you can compare the two.
Yes.
For the one for you against the class. Okay,
Yeah.
and these are the two that you would use, fish tank
Yes.
and polar. Okay, and for the ones you wouldn't use, why would you not use them?
Because I think for this one is
The city?
not clear.
Okay, the city that's comparing you against the class. Okay, not clear.
Yeah, and it's not clear when people saw it, and when you explain it, they may not still get the idea.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
that's my opinion.
And the avatars?
I think it's good. Like, we can choose either one and like copy them and make it colored or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are there any ways that looking at these you would change them to make them more useful for you? Even the kind of information visualized, you could change that too. You could change anything. What would you do? Sorry, I know it's a big question.
Probably this one, like
The big fish tank,
the big
okay.
fish. The fish can represent keywords, like
Okay.
the top one.
Like the top one, okay.
And like if the fish is smaller, then there will be small amount they have used on these keywords.
Right. No, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are there any other graphics that you would use or consider helpful? Like any other types of charts or graphics you've seen, like for a Fitbit or anything like that you think would be useful?
No, I think this one is the most useful one.
Okay,
chart one.
the polar coordinate, the chart.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Is there anything you'd like to share? And I know I'm asking you to remember from a while ago, but anything you'd like to share about your experience with the Learning Analytics or any questions you have, anything?
No.
No? Okay. Well, if you think of something later,